I was very protective of her time. I did not allow colleges to just have 100% access to her. When they actually started, there's a time in the process where they actually can call your phone. I gave them office hours.
Wow.
You could not talk to her during school. You could not talk to her during practice. And I'm like, Joyce, what days are better for you? And she gave me 2 days. So you had 2 hours or 3 hours and 2 days a week designated to D1 colleges.
Welcome onto the sideline, everybody. I am Sports Director Matt Dowell, and today I'm joined by my good friend Lulu Kesin of the Greenville News, and we're coming to you for this episode from the court at Colonial Life Arena. We are, hanging out here courtside after South Carolina's 114-47 win over Bowling Green. But Lulu, this is your second time on the pod. Welcome back.
Thank you for having me. It's always fun to talk to you.
Well, this was a great game for South Carolina, a dominant performance once again as they move to 2-0. I felt like tonight we got a little bit of a better picture of what this team is looking like this season. No Maddie McDaniel today. She was the only one out as she continues to recover from that knee injury, but the other 9 players all playing today. What's just your initial reaction to this game? What stood out to you?
Yeah, well, I think not having Maddie McDaniel, obviously that means more minutes and kind of more pressure on Raven Johnson. Obviously, she kind of flows every aspect of the offense, but something that stood out, she went out, I think it was like 3:08 left in the first quarter, and I was kind of like, how's South Carolina going to be without Raven? And they went on a 9-0 run. So I think that kind of shows, okay, any group of 5 that Dawn has out there can really score, and that was really impressive.
Yeah, I'm really, really impressed with the offense so far for the South Carolina team. I thought today that the intensity was a lot better than the first game, and I thought the chemistry started to look a little bit better. I really felt like the team was very locked in tonight at this game.
Locked in, and you saw that on the offensive rebounding, especially just second chance efforts, steals, transition offense. It did really feel like the focus was kind of turned up a notch, and that translated to really good production.
I think on the production side, the great night for South Carolina was Joyce Edwards with 24 points tonight. And coming up in just a little bit on this episode, I did speak with her mom, Rasheedah, for a conversation about raising Joyce Edwards and getting her to where she is now. That's the headline of this episode, but we're talking this game before we get into that interview. But that interview is coming up in just a few minutes here on this episode. But, on podcasts, I feel like people like, some maybe over-the-top reactions. I don't know. Isn't that what the podcasts are always for? And I was kind of thinking just these first 2 games, if you guys want my kind of hot take, early on in the season, this team, the way they score and how many people are scoring reminds me a lot more of the team 2 years ago than the team last year. Last year, I felt like there got to points sometimes where it was like, who's going to score this basketball? Who wants to take a shot? These first 2 games, Lulu, it seems like everyone wants to take a shot.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest difference I've noticed. I was really critical of that aspect of the offense last year. Like, it's a great thing when any given night it's one person, but it's a lot better when, 3 or 4 are that person kind of on a regular basis. I mean, once again, all of Staley's starters were in double figures. I think 6 of 8 that played or something, 7 of 9 that played tonight scored 11 or more. Like, you can't ask for more than that, and especially in SEC play, you need versatility with who can score and who wants to score, and it's great that it's not just Latson. Obviously, she led the nation last year, but everyone around her, it just seems like everyone's offense is making each other better, hungrier. There's like a healthy competition going, and it's really fun to watch.
What I also love watching is these 2 freshmen, Agat and Makir, who did go out with an injury. Dawn Staley not giving us really a clear picture on what that injury is like after this game, so hopefully Makir is okay. She looks fearless, though, and so does Isla McDowell. And on a team that only has 10 players, these 2 freshmen are going to play a lot. And Lulu, I'm really impressed with them so far in these first 2 games.
Absolutely, and the roster's kind of like built for them, and it's sort of up to them, in my opinion, to step up and, give Staley the production in the opportunity. They're both really versatile. They can play kind of 2 ways, great defenders, really great scorers. Obviously, Dawn teased how much they'll shoot the ball early on, but they're making baskets in different ways. They seem to work with whoever else is on the floor with them, and that's really impressive from a freshman.
Tonight is one of those games when you score 114 points where the stat sheet is insane. I mean, you can look at anything and be like, oh, that was good, that was good, that was good. Maybe that wasn't so good. When you look at the box score today, what's the stat that really stands out to you?
In a good way, probably the 66 points in the paint, because obviously a lot of teams, when you have some good shooters, they might force you out. At the same time, you need to establish some rhythm inside the paint, and I think that was nice to see second chance layups, but also just a lot of ball movement and a lot of aggression. On the flip side, 8 turnovers. I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but it was 8 turnovers early, and I felt like that kind of created some stagnant offense. So I think cleaning up that will help the chemistry overall.
Yeah, 13 total, I believe, in this game. So that's going to be something that they're not going to be too pleased with. But I think when you win by 70, you'll be like, all right, that's something they can clean up. I think, you look at Medina Ocote, 13 points, 11 rebounds, her first double-double. As a Gamecock, Raven Johnson, also a double-double, 11 points, 11 assists. And Lulu, I have to say, scoring has always been the criticism regarding Raven, but these first 2 games, she has looked much more comfortable offensively. If she can add the points to the assists, to the rebounds, to the defense, Raven adds a dimension to this team that makes them even better.
Yeah, speaking of good timing, the feature I wrote about Raven definitely aged.
Plug it.
Yeah, aged well today, for sure. But, I think you take the scoring away, Raven's one of the best point guards in the country and the most important piece to this team. I will die on that hill. I think that everything she does makes this team go. And the 11 points that she's had the last 2 games, that's just almost a bonus to Dawn. And I think it's incredible to see her confidence. She just looks like she wants to score. She looks like she knows she can score. Obviously, she kind of had the revenge tour into the repeat tour. And she's very honest about how she approaches different seasons. And she was pretty open. I need to get my offense back on track last year. And she ignores all the hate about it, even though she's highly criticized, for how she kind of was averaging last year. But overall, just Raven looks like a different scorer, and that's just really fun to see.
Yeah. I find so much excitement with this team because there are so many new faces, so many combinations and rotations. It's fun, going into this new season to see what this South Carolina team can do. But Raven Johnson is a familiar face, and she really is going to be the glue to everything. After this game against Bowling Green, we got to speak with Joyce Edwards after her 24-point performance, and Isla McDowell for the first time after she posted up some big numbers as well.
We knew that we have a lot of offense. We have impactful freshmen, impactful transfers. We took in the nation's leading scorer. We're literally an offensive team. So Coach is trying to pick up our defense to, go with our offense a little bit. But, scoring isn't really a problem for us. Anybody can go off at any time, and that's one of the blessings of being at South Carolina.
To be honest, it's really not a big change for me. Seriously, I've played, FIBA ball is very aggressive, and I've played, aggressive, teams in AAU. And to me, it's really not a big difference. I think the only difference for me is how disciplined you have to be. You have to be very, very disciplined, especially under Coach Staley. And that's the main thing I'm focusing on, just staying disciplined on the defensive end and also on offense.
Really fun to talk to Isla McDowell for the first time. A lot of confidence. She said, hey, I'm feeling pretty good out there on the court, which is fun to see. But Lulu, this week has also been very fun and unique because it's been the week of Gamecock reunions. We had Winston Gandy on Monday night in the season opener, the former assistant, now the head coach at Grand Canyon. Tonight, Fred Chmiel, the longtime assistant before Winston, is of course the head coach at Bowling Green, and he was back here at the CLA. It has made for a very fun start to the season, and also kind of giving perspective on how the Dawn Staley coaching tree just kind of slowly continues to grow in women's basketball.
Yeah, it's cool. You talk about coaching trees, but then when you actually see them happening in real time, it's a unique thing, and especially with women's basketball in the way that Dawn has built sort of this house in Columbia, but she's letting people, spread their own wings, and she's allowing people to create opportunities for themselves. And I think it's especially cool considering how she still has longtime assistants like Lisa Boyer with Jolette. She keeps people and people want to stick around, but also she's really excited to see people grow too.
Yeah, it's just been so fun. And, Fred is so great. Winston's great. Wendell Farrow is great, the new assistant. So it's really cool just to see the camaraderie of the staff and the relationships that they build, because he even said, Fred, after the game, they see each other on staff more than they see their own families during the season. But after the game tonight, we did get to speak to Fred Chmiel, and he spoke about his emotions returning to the CLA. And I also asked him what makes this South Carolina team so dangerous early on in the season.
It was different for me, rolling into town and seeing some of the areas that I used to frequent and some of the routes I used to take to work and the office that I, spent so much time in. It's a little out of body experience. I could say that, I guess. But I had great moments here. I had great times, and I still love all the people here. They're like my family. You truly spend more time with that staff than you do with your own family. So seeing them is great. We took it on the chin, but I think it'll be a learning experience. Yeah, well, I think they're extremely long and athletic. They're quick off the floor. They're quick in transition. They got a great floor leader in Raven. Their guards fill those wings quickly. The post rim run fast. I mean, they're hard to contain. It's hard to contain. And then once they get up, they get that ball up on the glass. Even when they're missing, they're monsters on the glass, and it's a hard box out. They just play above you. I do think that defensively, we weren't ready for that. We weren't ready for that length. We weren't ready. They did a lot of switching on us, and we planned on attacking. We planned on attacking their fives and getting downhill, but there just wasn't enough room to get downhill. We did a little bit better job in the second half, but they're overwhelming. They're overwhelming.
So a fun night here at Colonial Life Arena. Again, South Carolina winning 114-47. Lulu, any parting thoughts before we get to my interview with Rasheedah Edwards?
On to Clemson. I'm going to let everyone do the math to see the point differential. I'm not going to feed into the meme, but the math is there if people want to do it themselves. But South Carolina looked a lot better. Not that they, had me worried on Monday, but it's just always fun to see early improvement.
Lulu, thank you again for joining our podcast. As always, you do such great work. Before I let you go, how can people follow you and read your stuff? Because she does such great work.
That is so kind. First of all, I love everyone at Watch. Thank you so much for always having me on. You can follow me. I'm on Twitter and Blue Sky. I think my name is just Lulu Kesin, Kesin. Instagram, lulu.kesin. I like to share a lot of my work there. So yeah, thank you for having me.
Of course, Lulu, a good friend and a great colleague, and she does such exceptional work on Gamecock women's basketball and Gamecock football. So if you guys really want to read some really great features, Lulu is that person. We're going to take a quick ad break here on our podcast. Up next, my conversation with Rasheedah Edwards, mom of Joyce Edwards. I spoke with her about raising Joyce Edwards to become the player and person that she is today. I am here with Rasheedah Edwards, of course, the mom of Joyce Edwards and just a superstar in her own right. Rasheedah, it is so good to see you once again. Thanks for joining me on our podcast today to talk about Joyce and the Gamecocks. So welcome to our podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate you asking me to come. I'm honored to be here.
Yeah, and we've done a couple of parent interviews. The first was with Roscoe Wilson, and the second was with Norris Sellers, and they were so well received. I was like, okay, I need to get another parent on the pod, but I wanted a mom. I needed a mom's perspective on this side of athletes, raising champions, raising them to be who they are, and I needed the mom's perspective, and I was like, I'm going to hit up Rasheedah and see if she wants to join the podcast because I know she'll have a lot of good stuff to say. So I'm so excited to talk to you and pick your brain about Joyce and about your life, growing up in Camden as a family. So first, I wanted to start by talking about you because I know you're at Camden High School right now. What are you doing this time of year? Where has life taken you?
Well, I have stopped my engineering career. I was able to accept severance December of last year, December 2024. And so I took some time off to figure out what I wanted to do. And I decided that in this chapter of my life, I'm looking at the return phase. I feel like in the beginning, I was in my learn phase, and then I spent 24 years in my earn phase. And so now I really wanted to chase that inspiration, inspiring the next generation. I'm really big in STEM because I'm in engineering. And so right now I'm teaching geometry. My goal is to help create avenues for young people, just like I had, to be able to get engineering internships, to be able to meet with businesses, to be able to help increase the number of Americans that is going into engineering. Because I do feel like from a global point of view, engineering is a little bit less important for Americans. So I'm just trying to do my part in making sure that we have engineers to secure our future, from a technology point of view.
So where did you grow up? Did you grow up in the Camden area? Because I know, you didn't. Where did you grow up?
No, so I was born in Michigan, but I was raised in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So I'm from up north. and I got my degrees from University of Pittsburgh and Edinburgh University. So I came out of college. I was always up north in Pennsylvania, and once I graduated with my bachelor's in natural my bachelor's in natural math and science and my bachelor's in electrical engineering, I was able to move to Tucson, Arizona, all the way across country to start my career at IBM. So I started my engineering career in 2001. That's where I met my husband, and we had our family. And a couple years later, maybe like 7, 8 years later, we moved to North Carolina. And Joyce was really in North Carolina up until she was 9 years old. And then we moved to Camden, South Carolina.
Oh, wow. So what brought you to Camden? Was it jobs? Was it?
It was my husband. So Jobs took me to Arizona. Jobs took us to North Carolina, but he's from South Carolina. He wanted to come back home to help take care of his grandma. And so that's what we did. We moved back here for family. And it was nice because my kids, I felt like, got some different opportunities that they might not have gotten if we were still in North Carolina.
Yeah, well, I know that Gamecock fans are happy that your journey took you to Camden, because then Joyce became a superstar and now she is where she is. But obviously, you're an academic and you are very intelligent, and that has been your life. And we know how smart Joyce is. She grew up in that academic space. So was she always interested in that world as well, growing up around you and what you did?
I feel like Joyce just always wanted to be the best. I think that's just kind of how she was made. Like, she never got a B in school, period, in
Wow.
elementary, middle, or high school. So I think, when you're young in elementary, you have the two teachers. One's teaching like math and science, the other one's teaching like English, social studies. And I feel like she just carved out a space of, I want to be the best. I remember when she went to North Carolina, she went to Rafton Creek Elementary, and they gave her highest GPA for math, highest GPA for English. I mean, she was just somebody who wanted to be the best. Now you go into middle school, and it's a little different, but she still got all A's. Even with COVID, even during COVID, she got all A's. Like,
Wow.
she's just always been very studious. And she used to go to work a lot with my husband, who's an engineer. And a lot of times we had take your kid to work day. So she would come to my job and would have her notebook taking notes. Like, she was always very intentional about what she wanted. And so now in high school, she did the same thing. She got all A's. She went to all these AP classes. And when you have A's in everything, it's like, okay, well, what do you want to do? And the environment is something that she has just, became passionate about, I think, from conversations in school. I think it started in middle school, and just, humans and animals alike, just making sure that we can take care of the world so that we can all live in peace and, have some cohesion.
Yeah. So what was Joyce like as a kid? Because what you're telling me, it sounds like she was always competitive, but always also very mature. Because I thought that when I interviewed her at Camden, I can kind of gauge like, okay, this is a mature 17-year-old, or this is maybe a younger 17. That's just kind of how high schoolers are. I always felt like Joyce was a mature high schooler, but was she always like that as a kid? What was she like as a child?
I feel like, she started sports when she was 4. So I think that kind of helped her. She had an older brother. He's 3 years older than her, and he was doing sports. So she was like 3, watching him going to his soccer practice, going to his basketball practice, going to his flag football practice. And then in North Carolina, they had a thing called track out because it's a year-round school. So she was always times when she was able to just like be athletic and play with her brothers. And so once she was 4, they actually let her start because she was practicing and playing against them when she was 3. And she was always like extremely tall. Like, I still remember when I registered her for kindergarten, I was registering my 5-year-old. She was 2, and they thought I was registering her. That's how tall she was. Wow. She was extremely tall. So she was able to keep up physically with her brother. And so she's just playing sports. I think she was just a happy-go-lucky kid. I don't think she was never really competing with anybody. I think she just went to school and tried her best and played sports and like was a crazy tomboy because she has a younger brother too and an older brother. And they just played, and it was just all about like lighthearted fun. It wasn't about, I gotta be the best, I gotta be the best. It was just like, try your best. And her best was always the best, which is, it's crazy, but it's just how it is.
Yeah. And I know your youngest son he's on the Camden football team. So they're in the playoffs. They're getting ready at least.
Yes, they are. The first round playoff is actually today. They're going against Greer.
I know. So it's a busy night for the Edwards family. You got the game at the CLA with Bowling Green, and then
exactly
Camden in the playoffs.
Yes, we're going to tag team. I'll do Joyce, and my husband will do football because last week there was a football game and a basketball game, and my husband went and did Atlanta and seen basketball, and I stayed back with Tyler and did football. So we definitely have to tag team.
So you is that how it is? You guys rotate?
Yeah, we do. And then, like, if he makes it to the second round, if she had a conflict, I would try to go because you never, once you get deep, you don't know if it's going to be your last game.
Yeah.
And he can go and watch game like on TV. I'm sure he'll have the TV on while he's watching, and I'll probably be looking at his huddle tape to see what he did. So we'll be able to see them both. It's just at that moment we'll be at one of the other's games.
The life of a parent of athletes, of multiple athletes, you guys are always, it never stops. It's like from morning to night. It never
And we
stops.
had 3 kids playing sports year round since they were, my oldest was 6, my other 2 was 4. It's been like this for life.
Yeah.
So it's actually easier now because my oldest is kind of off on his own in the Army. And so I just have these 2.
Well, at least it's getting easier, I guess. But I mean, Joyce, her trajectory, and I don't know about the other, the guys, but it just seems like sports maybe never will stop in your life, which I guess is a good problem to have. But when we talk about the basketball side of things, when did basketball enter Joyce's life?
So she started playing basketball literally at 4. And, when they're young like that, it's just about, and when it was always Y Sports, they just try to teach you fundamentals, dribble the ball, do a layup. And then she had an older brother, so she would try to do these crazy things, because she was trying to do this hook shot one time, which was driving me crazy because she kept missing it. And so I feel like basketball was always there, but all of my kids' first sports was soccer. And soccer is played in the fall and the spring. Mm-hmm. So soccer is really all of their first level with soccer, then basketball in the winter, then soccer in the spring, then flag football. She also did swimming and she did dance year round. Because she was my only girl. So obviously I put her in ballet, which was helpful because she was so long and she would be a little clumsy. So it helped her be a lot more flexible, a lot more limber. She also did futsal, which is indoor soccer. So literally every sport, and she actually quit dance because she wanted to do swimming full time. Wow. Like she is such an athlete. So I feel like she did them all. I feel like she locked in on basketball when she moved to South Carolina. That was the first time she played all girls because in North Carolina it was co-ed and she was like one of the only girls playing. So she was used to always playing with boys. And to me, she was still the best one. But anyway, now you go forward to now she's 9 playing with a girls team. And it was kind of weird because, girls are a little bit different. Boys are just rough and tough and all that stuff. Yeah. Girls, a little bit more into their feelings and stuff. But she still excelled because Joyce is always going to keep the main thing. I'm just trying to put the ball in the hoop. I'm not trying to compete. I'm not trying to make nobody feel bad. I'm just trying to do my part. And so I feel like in middle school, once she got her offer from Dawn Staley, I feel like that's what she was like. And that same year, she was playing challenge soccer. So in the same sport, the same season, she was doing challenge soccer with a boys team, an all boys team, and she was doing AAU basketball.
Wow. At
the same time. And there was also always a time when she would do soccer, high school basketball, and AAU basketball. Like she's always been like time management. So I feel like they had to play a soccer game in South Carolina in the snow. I think that kind of detoured her. And another thing was she was invited to all these like high mighty soccer camps. And one of the colleges was like, "Are you interested in playing soccer in college?" And she said no. And I was a soccer mom, so I quietly, when we left, said, "Why?" She said, "I think I want to play basketball." Like, why are we doing all this stuff then? Yeah. So we kind of just focused in on AAU basketball and then let her play her sports, in high school.
Yeah. Again, because she was a big soccer player at Camden and also volleyball, correct?
Yes, she played volleyball. She wanted to play football, actually.
Oh.
And her brothers was encouraging her. She'll be wonderful. And she was great in flag football. She really was. Like the fact that there is flag football in other states and there's not one in South Carolina, Joyce would have excelled at that because she was so good. But they didn't. We said no. We're like, we're not allowing you going out for the tackle football team. So she chose volleyball. So that was like her default. She was like, I got to play a sport because she was just used to being active. So she actually ended up being really good. Her senior year, she played in state for volleyball. She played in state and won for basketball. And she took the soccer team the furthest they've ever went, which is like third or fourth round playoffs, like right before the lower state championship. I was so actually it was lower state championship.
Yeah, it's kind of rare in this generation to see these high level recruits when they're in high school still play all of those sports. A lot of time now by then they're so hyper focused on the one that they're really good at. Why was it important for you as her mom to make sure she stayed in all of those different sports despite being such a basketball star on a grand scale?
Yeah, well, I got to give a shout out to my husband. He's the one who put him in sports. His family is the athletes. I'm the academic. Even though
Okay.
he also had a high academic and was able to get an academic scholarship and a football scholarship. So I don't want to take away his academic prowess, but he kept him in sports. And initially, it was just to keep him active. Because at that time, when they were young, kids were just at home playing video games, and we didn't want that. So we just wanted them to be active. So that's how they started playing sports year round. And then when they got good at it, they did it in middle school, they did it in high school. And as she started getting good, we thought it was good for her to continue it because you start to rest certain body parts. You're not wearing the same body parts down all over again. For like soccer helped football. I mean, soccer helped her with her basketball footwork. Off of volleyball, blocking helped her with her basketball in terms of being able to jump and get rebounds. I feel like they all work for the common good. So I will never suggest for anybody to focus on one sport because you're wearing a certain part of your body down because you're doing it all over again. And that's a lot of times how a lot of injuries happen.
Yeah. And as her mom, parents see things in their kids maybe before everyone else does. Joyce, you said, was always so good and so athletic. When did you know that she was good, like next level good?
It's so interesting. I feel like when she's in the most competitive environments, that's when I realized how good she was. Because a lot of times, like when she would play with even people her age, when she was younger, she would hold back because she doesn't want to hurt anybody. She was so much taller. But as soon as I seen her go against her brother, who was 3 years older than her, and he's not giving her anything. Even her younger brother, they're not giving her anything. You got to earn everything in my household. And I seen her competitiveness. I'm like, oh, she's going to be special. So I want to say I seen it when she was younger, but then it was not really about. It wasn't about like being better than anybody. It was really about just having fun. Mm-hmm. Like I think people take away the joy of sports. Mm-hmm. So you had to play your best. You had to play your best. And you had to have fun. And those were your only two rules. I don't care if my kid ended up sucking in the sport. As long as they're playing their best and they're having fun, it's worth it. Yeah. So I feel like I knew she was special from a young age because it didn't matter what happened. Her dad coached her, and he's extremely competitive. So I'm talking about when she was 5 years old, he had inbound plays for soccer for him to get a goal. I'm talking about inbound play at basketball at 9 years old. Like he just always wanted to win. And Joyce only wants to win. Like I really say she's a coach's daughter because her dad, even though he's an engineer, he truly is a coach. So I seen it when she was in elementary school. But as the difference is you think you're good and then you have to go against an environment where they're so much better. So we would say, okay, now you're good and you might be the best in Camden. So let's take it to North Carolina. Okay, now you might be top 5 in Carolina. Let's go to Florida. Okay, now you might be top 20 in Southeast. Okay, let's go over to California. Okay, now you're like, maybe you're the top 10 in the nation. So we would never allow her to get comfortable dominating. We always continued to challenge her to see how is she going to measure up. But she would always say, I don't want to go. I just want to play with my friends, or I just want to chill. I don't want to do this. We said, no, you're going to do it anyway because you say you want to do this. So we just want to see how good you are. We're not trying to get you to score the most points. We just want to see how you react in a competitive environment. And she would always rise to the occasion and get the MVP. And when she kept doing that in middle school or in AAU or in these different showcases, I said, she's really good. Like she really is good. She really is good. She still doesn't see herself like that, but I seen it. And I feel like her dad realized it as well.
Gosh, that's such great parenting to not put the pressure on them of like, you have to do this or you're a failure, which I see a lot, in the youth sports. I see kids lose that spark because the adults around them take the fun out of it. So you guys made sure joy was the priority and also keeping the realism of like, you're good in this small market. Let's see how
Yeah.
far you can go. So I think that is great. Her signing day at Camden High School, I was there. It was such a joyful day. It was so exciting. Everyone did not know what she was going to pick. And, anytime a hometown kid that's that highly recruited has South Carolina, or somebody in their choices, there's excitement. It was South Carolina, LSU, and Clemson as her final three. What were your feelings that day? Did you know what she was going to pick? Were you nervous? Take us through your perspective of her signing day.
Yeah, so I have been instrumental in her recruitment since she was in middle school. Like literally, because she was so young and she was recruited by a lot of D1 programs at such a young age, I really wanted to make sure that my child was still a kid and was still able to go play her soccer. Okay, now do your volleyball. Okay, you got this AP test. All right, now you want to go hang out with your friends or you want to go to the junior prom. So I was very protective of her time. I did not allow colleges to just have 100% access to her. When they actually started, there's a time in the process where they actually can call your phone. I gave them office hours.
Wow.
You could not talk to her during school. You could not talk to her during practice. And I'm like, Joyce, what days are better for you? And she gave me 2 days. So you had 2 hours or 3 hours and 2 days a week designated to D1 colleges. And so I have been doing that, and I would change it because obviously soccer practice is different than basketball practice, is different than volleyball practice. Now we got soccer and AAU basketball going on. So I would refresh it, but I wanted to make sure that her priority was, I am a young child. I'm going to play my sports. Obviously academics was number one. So she always had all A's. So I didn't have to worry about that. But it was making sure that they didn't have access to her. So I was just happy it was over.
Yeah.
I mean, at signing day, I was like, thank you, Jesus, because everything went through me. I would not allow them to get access to her. I scheduled days. I would text coaches ahead of time, can you do this time? And I would just give Joyce a schedule. So literally all she had to do was go to school, do her schoolwork, do her college. I mean, not her college, do her like basketball or volleyball or soccer practice, do her games. And then I would tell her, we might have a 5-minute, 10-minute conversation about what's your schedule like. And I would tell her, okay, I would actually keep track of who she spoke to so that I made sure to give everybody the same amount of time to talk to her. Maybe it was twice a month or, as it narrowed down, it might have been more often, but I did all of that. So I was like, thank you, Jesus, this is over.
Yeah, you had to be like a manager almost.
I was definitely a manager. I was a recruitment manager.
And you weren't getting any extra pay. You just had to be the mom manager.
I tell everybody, I get paid by Joyce in love and attitude.
Exactly. And I know that had to be just huge for her to allow her to have that space because it is intense, especially, recruiting it's 24/7 and it is an intense world. So that protection that you gave her was so vital. And I mean, we could see that. But it wasn't like, I think everyone understood it. It was like, this is the way it is with Joyce. This is how it's going to work. She has to have her time, to be Joyce and all the other stuff. My parents always said, you will be an adult the rest of your life. You can only be a kid once. And that kind of seems like the same type of philosophy.
I think a lot of times people they're really happy with the attention. Joyce was never somebody who seeked attention. She just wanted to be the best that she could be. So she didn't ask to be put in this situation, but we're here. And when you are investing in a full scholarship for a person, because that's always was the goal. Once we realized she was good, we're like, she might be able to get a scholarship. I didn't care where it was. It could have been ABC 123 University. I just needed her to go to school for free because that means I don't have to pay for it.
Yeah.
So when you talking, I'm about to put all this money into a person, you have to respect their time. And I have to give props to all the colleges that I talked to, because I did talk to them as a parent, like with Joyce not even around, on this is what I'm thinking. And they would give me advice. Us as college coaches would like that because we want to make sure that she knows that she's a priority, but we don't want to be a burden. So you giving us office hours actually is beneficial for us. So that allowed me to continue to manage her the way we did because I needed to make sure my number one priority was making sure she was okay.
Yeah.
But making sure that she was a child and she was still able to experience what it was to be a child.
Yeah. And I know, obviously, after that, which is so great that she had that opportunity. And then, the attention turns to, okay, now it's time to go to college. And, she makes her choice. We know the story about Dawn, making her major happen at South Carolina. She has such a great freshman season. They get to the national championship. They're SEC champs again. What was your takeaway from Joyce's freshman season?
Well, if I'm being honest, I felt like she could have done a lot better.
Oh,
Of course, for us, we have a different expectation of Joyce because we know everything that she's capable of.
hmm
And when you're going to college, you have to recognize that it's not Joyce Edwards' team. It is the University of South Carolina basketball team. So you have to get in where you fit in. You have to carve out a space that works for the betterment of the entire team. And so for that, I was like, okay, Joyce, like, how do you feel? Like, what do you think? Because obviously, as a mom, my biggest thing is mental.
hmm
Like, I don't want you to feel like you have pressure, because you're from here, people know you, but you're on this great team. And luckily, my child, and I really just give her props, she went in with a very realistic expectation. This is the team that won the national championship. I am not going in here with no expectations. I'm not trying to start. I'm just trying to not mess up when my name gets called. And I think that's very realistic for a freshman, especially when you have all of these great players that you're playing with. So I felt like her approach was good. I felt like she could have been a lot more aggressive in certain times, but that's me nitpicking. And I'm not the basketball person. That would be my husband. So I
hmm
want to talk too much about that because he's the one who gives her advice. He's the one who's been coaching her and training her entire life. And so I can't really talk more about the basketball, but I know what I know. I know what good looks like for my daughter. And I just felt like she did a good job figuring her way through. But could she have been more aggressive? Could she have been more dominant? Yeah, I think she could have because I know that she can. But she is like, I'm not going to. I have to figure out how I need to work for a team. And that's the growth that she taught me she needed. So
Yeah.
if you take that expectation in there, I think she hit it out the ballpark. But initially, I was like, come on, George, you can do a little bit better than this. Like, what's going on?
Well, it was good. She was on the all tournament team. She got some SEC honors and stuff. So she was good, and I think she did put herself on the national stage. I know you have the mom perspective from the media perspective. I'm like, well, I thought she was pretty good her freshman year.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I always forget about those individual accolades because that's never been a goal of Joyce.
Yeah.
Her goal was the national championship, and they didn't get it, so she underachieved.
Mm.
And it's like, okay, what is it that you could have done that could have helped with that? What is it that you need to work on now going into your sophomore season that can help with that? Because getting to the last game of the season is not something that you can take for granted. Like,
Yeah.
only 2 teams out of all of the teams can make it. So it is a blessing to even get to that point.
Yeah.
And I think that during the playoffs, she had a little, they were kind of like coming at her differently. They was double teaming her, and she had to kind of find her way of how to get over that. And I think she did against the game in Texas during the Final Four. But just that growth, just that maturation process, I thought was also good because I feel like everybody always wants it to be good. Everybody always expects everything to be good. But in sports, that's not how it works.
hmm
There's a winner and there's a loser. And that's with the game. But even as your process goes, you're not always going to have good games. You might have a slump for a couple games, as I feel like my child did. And for me, to see you come through that, to see you go through that and still kind of rise to the top, still kind of figure out and have your confidence, to see how you mentally was able to go through that and not be too down on yourself. To me, that's the best part of her freshman year.
Yeah.
It's not that yeah, okay, you didn't get the national championship, and yeah, okay. I felt like in certain games, she could have did a little bit better. Again, I can't talk about what that is because that's my husband's lane. That's not my lane. But for me, it's mentally. Mentally, your obstacles grow you in such a way that will make you better. Like, you don't learn by doing good. You learn through your failures. And so for me, how she went through her obstacles, how she grew from that, how she handled that, to me, that was the best part of her freshman season. So from that point of view, I think she hit it out the park.
Going off of that, this was an interesting offseason. Ashlyn Watkins, taking the year off. Chloe goes down with a torn ACL right before the season. So all the attention turned to Joyce and all these expectations. Now a lot more pressure to be the one to step up. What do you tell her about facing that pressure, because she still is an underclassman? You know, she's only has 1 year under her belt. So what do you tell her about the pressure and the expectations that she now faces trying to, you know, take on the role that maybe Chloe or Ashlyn would have had this year?
The good thing about Joyce is the way she was raised. Pressure has never been an issue for Joyce. I mean, I remember when she went to all them all-star games in high school, and I remember me being so nervous. How is she going to do with all the best, you know, at the McDonald's game and the Jordan Classic and the Nike Hoop Summit, and then she ended up doing U18, and you get so worried about it. And through all of that, even AAU, like so many times that she had to go and deal with that. And her dad always told her pressure is only what you put on yourself. So from that point of view, she doesn't have any pressure. She only has the pressure of those that really is helping her like get through it, which is her coaches, her teammates, and obviously her dad, because he is, you know, her trainer. So I feel like from that point of view, she's handling it very well. Which I think is really a testament to everything she's been through up until this time, because for anybody else, it would be like, oh my God, this is crazy. She's like, no, we all just need to step up. She's handling it like a champ. So it's more about just doing the preparation, the unseen hours of preparation, so that you can be your best version of yourself. Because Ashlyn, you know, taking the time off and Chloe getting hurt, nobody can replace their contributions, not one person. Everybody, the whole team is going to have to step up, you know, and then we have some new people on the team who are all doing phenomenal. They have the right attitude. They have the right work ethic. So it's a whole new team already, what I never thought about, right? You think in high school, it's usually the same team, but in college, it's literally a whole new team.
Yeah.
Just like her, the 24 team was different than the 23 team. So for her, it's just really about building that chemistry, because she was gone all summer with USA. So it's really about building that chemistry, getting those defensive assignments together, and figuring out like how she can use her skill set to the best of their ability. Just going to uplift the team and make sure that the team can do good. So pressure is not something that she thinks about. It's really just the team, like just what they need to do. You know, they always say something that I love: "We're all we got, we all we need," and that's really how she sees it.
And that's that mentality that you instilled in her from a young age, you know, that the priorities and that mentality. So I think, you know, at that age, you maybe aren't thinking about it long term, but I think that mentality that you guys taught her just as a kid, you see that now in dealing with situations like this. And it's also a lesson, and you really never know what's going to happen. You know, everyone thought Chloe would be good to go, and then that happens and everything changes, you know, and suddenly you're the one. But Rasheedah, I just really want to thank you for joining our podcast today. It's so good to see you, and I know we'll see you throughout the season at the CLA, but hopefully you'll come back and talk to us, because I hope we're all hoping that we're in for a good season for Joyce and watching her excel in her sophomore season. But I want to thank you so much for joining us. I'm always honored when people say yes to coming to talk to me, so thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. I'm just happy and honored that you asked me. I wish all the best. I will be watching. I watch the first two ones, and so I look forward to seeing how this turns out. So
thank you, Rasheedah. It's so good to see you. And for everybody that wants to watch the Gamecocks, they will be all season. Joyce Edwards a starter. Rasheedah Edwards going to be cheering her on, and also cheering on, you know, Camden football this next month in the playoffs. So we'll check out how the Bulldogs do.
Thank you so much. You have a good one, Matt.
You too, Rasheedah. I want to thank Rasheedah Edwards for taking the time to talk with me today about raising Joyce Edwards to become the player and person that she is today. Hope you guys enjoyed that conversation, because what parents do in this sport, in every sport, is truly incredible. It's just it's a very, very hard job to be the parent of an athlete, and the Edwards family does such a great job. So I've known them for a good bit, and I always appreciate talking to them, and really appreciate Rasheedah for coming on the podcast. Now, looking forward, South Carolina women's basketball hosts Clemson at 6 o'clock this coming Tuesday, as the rivalry chapter is renewed once again. And then our next episode will be on Thursday. We'll talk about the women's basketball game against Clemson, and we'll also have your football preview of South Carolina against Texas A&M. Mike Shula has been fired. How will South Carolina's offense respond in these final 3 games of the season, as they have to win these 3 if they want to be bowl eligible? So we'll see you on Thursday for another edition of South Carolina Sideline. Thank you guys as always for watching watching and listening. It's been fun to bring you these episodes courtside from Colonial Life Arena. Hope you're enjoying them. We'll be back in the studio on Thursday, but we will be back here at the CLA plenty throughout the basketball season. Again, I want to thank Lulu Kesin. I want to thank Rasheedah Edwards. I'm Matt Dowell. We'll see you next time here on South Carolina Sideline.